A warning before you listen.
What you are about to hear is not meant for children, nor for the faint of heart. This is an unfiltered retelling of ancient myths, told as they were born, raw, violent, unsoftened. Expect scenes of brutality, curses that linger, betrayals that reshape fate, and a hunger for power that shows no mercy. These myths were never meant to lull children to sleep. They were forged in blood, shadow, and fire. So ask yourself, are you ready to hear them as they were first told? Sources and references can be found in the episode description. Chapter 1. From the epic, Zeus, the last-born, and the Revolt of Fate. A cry in the womb's shadow. Night drank the breath of the earth, the way lips steal the last gasp from a slaughtered chest. The sky that evening didn't watch, it hid. And inside Rhea's womb, there was no life being cradled, only a crime being concealed. Something twisted beneath her skin, not quite a child, but not something else either. It curled in the sticky dark, a body pulsing with thunder, still learning how to spark the air, still rehearsing how to split flesh. And silence. That thunder was still warm, kicking violently against her insides every time she remembered how his siblings were devoured one by one. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. Each name cursed as if she were damning the gods who eat their own young. Every kick said one thing: I will not end as they did. In that moment, Rhea was no longer a mother. She was a woman, fighting for the thunder pulsing beneath her ribs. This wasn't birth. It was a blood rite, a voiceless scream, a fall from a forgotten star into the soaked basin of a cave. She bled as if the earth itself had to be drained, until Zeus's body could float to the surface.
Her trembling hands searched blindly for something nameless. Not to pull a child from her womb, but to drag thunder out of the dark. Zeus emerged not crying, but silent, like a lit fuse. His eyes shut, yet the air around him trembled, as though a throne had just collapsed and no one had yet heard the crash. His skin didn't feel like a newborn's. It burned like a blade drawn across your eyelid. His fingers didn't grasp the air. They strangled it. She wrapped him not in swaddling cloth, but in a torn shawl, stolen from her forgotten prayers. It still smelled of unanswered pleas. She rose. Her bones screamed. Her blood ran down her thighs, thick and defiant, as if the crime hadn't finished bleeding yet. Her eyes stared into nothing, like a victim who finally realizes her rapist is her husband. She fled the palace, not like a queen, but like soaked fabric fleeing the rain. The corridors watched, but dared not speak. The ground opened beneath her steps, as if unsure it could believe this woman was about to give birth to the end of tyranny. The guards were drunk, their bodies numbed, unaware of the blood trickling between her legs. Cronus slept, smiling, waiting for his next meal, unaware he'd be swallowing a phantom wrapped in women's cloth. Rhea reached Crete, or rather began her descent toward it, toward the forgotten cave Gaia had hidden from all who dared to ask. Each footstep carved pain into the earth, like walking on blades. Each heartbeat whispered, "Faster, the blood does not wait." The wind did not caress her face, it lashed it. The rocks moaned beneath her, as if all of nature was preparing to bury a secret that would one day speak only in lightning. She entered the cave, No prayers, no tears, only a ragged breath tearing through the dust. She placed Zeus on a slab of cold stone. She did not kiss him. She did not sing. She whispered to the cave walls with a voice scraped raw. "Keep him, and if he ever returns to me, let it be with thunder no god can forgive." Then she knelt, dug her trembling fingers into the earth, and spoke to Gaia the way only widows speak to a sky where God is already dead. "Take him, take him. Braid your prophecy into his veins. Return him only when his name becomes a curse that keeps the gods from sleeping." She called to the women of the shadows, priestesses with no faces, but fingers that knew how to hide lightning from the gaze of tyrants. She handed the child to them as if offering a lover to a final kiss. "Don't tell him I'm his mother," she said. "Let him grow, like beasts do, without a breast to make them soft." She left the cave carrying a stone. Not a stone meant for the road, but one torn from a cavern littered with the skulls of the dead. She wrapped it in the same blood-soaked cloth, fed it a few drops of her milk, prepared him like a perfect newborn, one who doesn't cry, doesn't move, doesn't protest. Then she sealed it in the swaddle, dragged her body like a mourner escaping her own funeral, led not by the child's scream, but by the trail of blood and milk in her hands. She returned to the palace, embers burning in her chest, her face wrapped in silence, heavy enough to collapse a kingdom. The palace still shimmered in gold. And Cronus was waiting. She entered like a shadow, not a woman. Placed in his hands a bundle that didn't cry, didn't twitch, didn't breathe. He didn't look, he didn't question, he didn't doubt. He opened his mouth like a sacred beast and swallowed the stone just as he had swallowed the others, never knowing that this time silence was not surrender, but a trap, delayed, because the child, forgotten in the cave's shadow, was listening. And lightning, once buried in the dark, doesn't rise to illuminate, it rises to burn. And thus, Zeus was born, not as a cry, but as punishment, not as a child, but as the sin the sky must one day atone for. This chapter of the epic has come to an end, but remember, what you've just heard is not a record of facts, but the echo of a myth. A story born from the imagination of the ancients, etched into the long memory of humankind. If this tale stirred something in you, if it opened a door to reflection or wonder, don't forget to support the channel and share the journey with those you love. And in the comments, tell us which moment in this chapter struck you the most and why. We'll meet again in the next chapter of this audio odyssey through time. Until then, farewell.